Man, off the bat. This is the most delusional dev team I have ever seen. The excuses. The fucking coping. The ignorance is among some of the worst I've ever seen. Jesus, Mother of God. The madmen actually fucking did it. And they've literally thrown shade at every single group that hit in rage on P8S. I am speechless. Thinks, thank you for the prime, man. Welcome, enjoy the emotes and shit. Thank you for the support. Alright, fucking up your balance is one thing. Fucking it up and then doubling down on it is another. Oh my fucking god. Is this the machinist support group, brother? Is it the machinist support group when the leader of the machinist support group is, like, becoming the Joker? I don't know. You guys might have to fend for yourselves now. I'm not sure. I don't know. Alright, let's get into it. Let's get into it. Playable content. The illumination of the pendant wall light furnishing has been adjusted. Thank you. Much needed change. Appreciated. I was really struggling with how much of a house I don't have. God, it's beautiful. The devs care so much. I love it. Battle system. Oh, hot cat girl. Thank you. You're gonna support me, yes? You're gonna watch over me. Who this? Holy shit! God damn. Alright, anyway. Paladin. Holy Spirit buffed. Confiteor buffed. Expiation buffed. Blade of Faith and Truth buffed. Warrior buffs and stuff. Smaller ones though. Well, actually, maybe not, considering how often you press Storm's Path. I don't know, man. I'm leaving that to the math gods. I'm not. I just want to read this again. With the release of patch 6.21, several adjustments have been made to action potencies to address tank performance issues, primarily in the raid Pandemonium Abyssos Savage. Paladin. Although Paladin has difficulty dealing high levels of burst damage when compared to other tank jobs, they excel at maintaining high sustained damage even when handling battle mechanics by way of their ranged attack. Alright, look. I've always said myself that Paladin's always been better at sustained DPS. It's not a burst tank, but the damage is more sustainable. However, that doesn't work in a game where you're stuffing everything into 2 minutes, then having nothing outside of it. This design does not work anymore. But I don't want them to change it either, because it's something different. I can already hear Zeph frothing at the mouth, because he probably disagrees with me. Speak your mind, friend. I'm here for you. By way of their ranged attacks. Ah, yes. For all that melee uptime you're losing. Yes, I forgot. I forgot how much uptime there is to lose in raids these days. Ah, yes. My mistake. Zeph wrote a Google Doc on it. I would like the link to this Google Doc. He was here like minutes ago. I don't know what happened to him. Anyway. However, recent duties have been designed to include features that reduce stress on tank and melee jobs. Yes, correct. Such as significantly larger boss targeting circles. Because of these design choices, the unique advantage of Paladin's high sustained damage loses its impact. I love this dev team. I love how they admit the problem they've created. They understand that they have catered to melees. And yet it doesn't matter. Because melees are stupid overpowered right now. Apart from Reaper. Ranged are in the fucking bin. Machinist is in the fucking bin. Because haha movement tax. Haha you can keep up time. They've admitted the problem right here. And they're doing nothing about it. Using P7S as an example, there are prolonged periods where the enemy cannot be attacked, as well as mechanics that grant increased damage to players, further emphasizing the value of burst damage. In such situations, the job's incompatibility of the duty becomes more readily apparent. To substantively resolve these issues, we believe a full re-evaluation of actions is required. Hey, this job requires skill to optimize. Fuck it, rework it. Destroy it. Build it from the ground up. Don't change our incredibly flawed fight design. Don't change our overarching combat design. Rework the class. Make it boring like everything else. Yes, thank you, Lord Yoshi. I'm so happy right now. Look, I might have quit Paladin back in verse. Alright, it's been a long time since I played Paladin. But I loved that job. I thought it was fun. I didn't quit because I thought Paladin wasn't fun. I enjoyed Paladin. I just didn't like where tanking was going. And I didn't like... I admittedly didn't really like the spreadsheeting of Paladin. But at least back then, you were rewarded because Paladin was good. But now, the devs have like dug themselves a hole with their fight design and their combat design. And instead of saying, okay, let's reevaluate that for next tier, next ultimate, I don't fucking know. They're deciding to just take any substance out of the jobs. Whatsoever. At least that's how I see it. And they are admitting that Paladin had lower damage because they had ranged advantage. You see all those fucks leveling Paladin who refuse to use their magic abilities? Bro, they were right. It's reserved for range only. That was sarcasm. So why is Machinist so fucking bad, Yoshi P? If you're agreeing to buff Paladin on the basis that it doesn't need the ranged advantage anymore, what about the entire ranged role? Why are we reworking a perfectly, like, cool functioning job? Taking all the substance and optimization out of it, potentially. Just to shove it into 2 minutes along with everything else. Now, I'm obviously, like, not gonna claim to know better than Paladin masterminds like Zeph. So, you know, I look forward to reading what he had to say, listening to what he has to say about all this, as well as other people who are obviously far better versed in current Paladin than me. But I'm just talking about the overall philosophy here. It's just so fucking flawed. I haven't even got to the Savage nerf yet. Bear with me. You cannot design around this concept anymore. As more significant adjustments to action mechanics require more time, such changes will be implemented from patch 6.3 onward. Meanwhile, we delayed the Dragoon and Astro reworks until 7.0. But Paladin, more immediate issue, clearly. For now, we have elected to adjust actions that will improve the job's burst damage. Okay. I'll humor it for the second. Warrior! Bro, why are we calling it Marauder, man? Or what / Warrior? Like, bruh. Although Warrior excels at dealing burst damage, we found their overall damage to be somewhat lacking compared to other tank jobs, so we decided to increase the potency of their actions. In patch 6.2, we focused on improving its basic combo actions. Made further improvements to the potency of combo actions as well as those that contribute to their burst damage. Okay. You see, here's the thing. Here's why I struggle to agree with Paladin needing a rework. Paladin only needs a rework because then it will fit the rest of the fucking mess that they've made with job design and fucking combat design. But Paladin on its own is a different and fun job, and I don't think it should be reworked for that. Like, I don't like this idea of something being different now just being like the fucking weird kid. It's unique. You know, I realize not everyone's gonna agree with me. Like, this is just my opinion. Does not belong in the 2-minute world. Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, that's the hole that they've dug. They have completely stripped classes of their uniqueness in design by taking out 60 second, 90 second, 180 second, and shoving everything into 2 minutes. Paladin is now an outlier, and it's like arguably part of the reason it's underpowered is arguably because of that. But that doesn't make Paladin like a bad job, and it's just so sad to see. You know, I get it. It's a catch-22. Like, something loses here, but like, when they admit that like range tax is like a stupid thing now. It's just so confusing. It's like they acknowledge the problem, but they won't do anything about it. What's wrong with this fight design? Go and do Stormblood raids. And tell me what's wrong with fight design. It gets worse. The HP of Hephaestus and Abyssos, the 8th Circle Savage, has been reduced. This adjustment applies to both phases of the battle. Reasoning for HP adjustment. In our endeavor to create an encounter more challenging than Asphodelos, the 4th Circle, the team responsible for final adjustments spent a great deal more time than usual working on balance for this raid battle. Under normal circumstances, the DPS of this team serves as a base for determining a boss HP value that results in clears as close to the time limit as possible. However, as extra time was dedicated to testing this battle, the team's overall performance proved to be higher than usual.
Know your fucking place, trash.
As a result, the base values used for adjustments were too high, with final values roughly 1% higher than intended. We have reduced the boss's HP to bring the battle in line with our initial balance predictions. We apologize for any inconvenience caused.
Let me make this short and sweet. In my honest opinion, if you use add-ons you are cheating. Add-ons is why I no longer do Savage Raids. The lack of add-ons is why I came to play Final Fantasy XIV from World of Warcraft starting with beta. It has gotten so bad that when you go into any pug instance with other players you can actually see who has almost flawless timing avoiding mechanics. Hence cheating. I play 14 on the PS5. I don't play on PC like I used to because of accessibility issues.
Nah, mate. Not our terrible balance problems. Nothing to do with that. You're all just bad. Our dev team good. Doing big damn. Big cock damage. The fact that they pretty heavily buffed Paladin and reduced the fucking HP of the raid in the same patch is telltale enough that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. This wouldn't have to happen at all if you were, one, transparent about your balancing and the fact that you were gonna buff it for the tomes, because that's the real fucking reason. Don't fucking lie to me and tell me that your dev team's just better. Because otherwise it's like basically unclearable for 610 eye level with like no extreme weapon, etc. Don't tell me that and then admit that you fucked up with Paladin. I now feel bad for people that perhaps might have been looking forward to the challenge of this. You know? Like, calling this anything else other than a fuck up on your part is coping so fucking hard. They are so out of touch. This was so fucking unnecessary. What needed to happen was that you need to fucking balance your game properly. And also be transparent about the fact that it's clearly made for tome gear and extreme weapons, possibly even a tome weapon, knowing that people could get that in the week before Savage launch. This is such bad cope, man. Nah, you guys are just bad. We did too much damage, so we made the fight too hard. What are you, fucking Blizzard? You regularly have to nerf their fights because they completely overtune them? Oh my god, the Blizzard arc has begun. Yeah, I believe it. I'm sure they did. I have no reason to disbelieve that they didn't. But it just sounds like their fucking balanced playtesting is just throw their dev team at it for a couple hours. But that would do. Fuck it. So instead of, you know, testing all the comps, deciding to balance their jobs in line with the fight, they decided to just, you know, they must have fucking taken. No. They didn't do fuck all. Like, what the fuck is this? What is this reasoning? Literally just throwing shades at, like, perfectly capable players because you can't balance your game properly and blaming it on your dev team being too good. I don't know, man. I have... Oh, look, here's the island sanctuary fixes. Thank you. Beautiful. Is there any machinist bugs here? Like, its damage numbers that I can cope with? No? Yeah, like, this is just the dumbest fucking shit I've ever seen. Yeah, I'd have been happier if they just said they nerfed it and said the fight was overtuned. Sorry. The team's overall performance proved to be higher than usual. What are you, fucking Dream? Is Dream on your dev team? With his mods for higher drop rates? Except this time it's higher crit rate? What the fuck is that? I love how they like to pretend that, like, players don't have any statistics on jobs. It's like they just shove under the rug the fact that, like it or not, ACT is real, FFLogs is real, and underperforming jobs, whether in RDPS or ADPS, is very clear to see. I don't like it either. And I've defended Machinist on this basis. But the fact remains that jobs like Machinist are in the bin. I can cope and defend all I want. People have some real trash takes out there. But the bottom line is still true. Please stop pretending that your player base are fucking stupid, Yoshi P. Square Enix. Stop it. We're not fucking dumb. Especially when it comes to Savage Raid. You should know better than this.
Oh, my shoulder!
This is fucking insane. Speaking of, someone link me that post. Where the fuck is it? Someone link me the post. Thank you. Oh my fucking god. What the fuck? An anonymous oiler! An anonymous oiler has just gifted 50 fucking subs! Jesus Christ, anonymous, thank you! Holy cow! Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's a lot, man. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. What the fuck? Welcome to all the new subs.
Oh, my shoulder!
Oh my god! Alexander Drebs, thank you for the follow. Okay. Oh my god! Yo, anonymous, thank you, man. That's hella generous of you. Thank you so much. Whoever you might be. Regarding illegitimate waymarks in Abyssos the Seventh Circle Savage. In Abyssos the Seventh Circle Savage. I like how they just won't even acknowledge our naming conventions. Like, just call it P7S, man. Be more than ASMR, fuck off. We have confirmed that waymarks are being placed outside of the battlefield through illegitimate means, such as the use of external tools. We would like to explain the development operation team's view regarding the situation of consideration of the mechanism of waymarks. Regarding the Waymark system. Waymarks, as the name suggests, are provided as markers that can be placed on the field. Therefore, they can only be placed if they are in contact with the ground. Placement of individual waymarks are determined by whether they are in contact with the ground. If they are not, then the waymarks cannot be placed. However, in consideration of duties or the battlefield changes during the battle, we allow players to place waymarks to the changed battlefield after completing the duty, to save them to be used next time. Therefore, waymarks loaded from the save slots are not determined by whether they are in contact with the ground. In this case, with the use of external tools, waymarks that are placed illegitimately in coordinates where they cannot be placed normally are being loaded and circulated between players' save slots, resulting in the spread of waymarks of illegitimate coordinates. After investigation, we have identified the first player who placed the illegitimate waymarks. We'll be issuing an account penalty for the illicit activity. Did I miss anything from him reading the patch notes? I'll put it on YouTube. Alright, I'm gonna get through the whole post, and then I'm gonna fucking... Then I'm gonna give my take on this. What is this? Account penalties for the use of waymarks through illegitimate means. I need a sip of my coffee. True.
Oh, my shoulder.
True. For this matter, since waymarks can be used simply by saving, loading them without the use of external tools or other illicit means, and because it is difficult for players to distinguish illegitimate waymarks, we will not issue an account penalty for the use of an illegitimate waymark by saving, loading them in the save slots. However, even considering changes to the field, if you see an illegitimate waymark placed outside of the battlefield or any location where it cannot be placed through proper means, please do not save load them in the slave slots moving forward. Guys, please don't do it. Please don't abuse our band-aid shit system. Please don't do it. Please, we beg of you, we will not issue a penalty, but I beg you, please do not do it. Please. If such waymarks have already been saved, please delete them. Please delete them! Oh, okay. At this time, all waymarks placed outside the battlefield at the start of the battle for Abyss or 7th Circle Savage have illegitimate coordinate data. Future handling of the system. Since an unfair situation has already been created between players who have this data in the save slots and those who don't, due to the spread of the waymark data of illegitimate coordinates and taking into account the strategies players have been using for this duty, we have decided that regarding P7S, we will allow everyone to set the same waymarks as this currently widespread data allows, but without the use of illicit means. Specifically, certain fields will be made slightly larger, so it is possible to set the same waymark coordinates as in the currently widespread data, but through illegitimate means. However, we apologize that there will be a delay in implementation as setup and testing for this will not be completed in time for patch 6.21. We will update you again when the implementation schedule has been finalized. We appreciate your understanding and cooperation. For those unaware, this problem started following the great TPS private server meme incident, the release of T, and all the memes that came along with it. A great time for us all. The abuse of Paisley Park, a tool that allowed waymark changing placement according to the timeline of a fight, which also revealed safe spots and whatnot. I'm just giving a general image. Back in a time where those memes were rampant. I didn't say it was TPS's fault. Paisley Park caused a big concern for Square Enix. They were very angry. And so they decided that instead of banning the players that were abusing it, they decided they would disable placing of waymarks mid-combat. They decided that instead of getting rid of the problems, they would just create a problem for everybody. Since then, nearly 3 years ago, yeah, T was November 2019. We have not been able to place markers mid-combat anymore. A very basic system that you would expect to be able to do. And now Square Enix, on the 13th of December 2022, are upset at the player base. Have decided once more to be angry at people circumventing that system. Square Enix, maybe if you just stopped being a bitch. Banned people who you thought or found, with evidence, by the way, to be breaking TOS. How about you just let people place fucking waymarks again? And then this wouldn't fucking happen. What a fucking crazy idea that would be. God damn. What an insane concept. Thank you for your sacrifice, dear friend, who has probably been banned by now. I love Square Enix's blame shifting. I love how this entire patch is just Square Enix refusing to take any accountability for anything that they fucked up and telling us that we're bad or that we're cheating. I love this game to pieces. I've put 22,000 hours into it. I love this game. But I don't love these devs. These devs need to wake the fuck up and start taking some accountability for the mistakes they're making, instead of punishing players. Someone's linked Zeph's tweet. You're mad because you love it. Exactly. Alright, I'm gonna read Zeph's document. Am I allowed to read this on stream? I would assume so, but I think this, oh, okay, Jesus fuck it, it's like a fucking thesis. Oh my god, man. It should be a uni subject. But before I do that, like just to like just all of this is just completely sidestepping the wider issue. This is just completely sidestepping the problem with the game. Like, they almost admit to it here. Like, this part here. They almost admit that there's a problem. But they fail to address it. It's... Now, obviously, like, addressing it would take, you know, releasing the next tier and addressing the problems. But, like, come on, man. Alright, I'm gonna... This is a lot to read. But we're gonna go over it because I think Zeph probably explains it better than I can. To understand a complex problem, it's easier to simplify it first to see how changes affect things. Rather than considering every individual job, let's visualize the party as a whole and consider at any given moment whether they are doing bursting damage or not. Okay, yeah, simple diagram. Damage is like this. True. Additionally, you can represent average damage over time by looking at an area under the graph. It should be linear in the example, but a sine wave is more closely represents an actual in-game DPS. I'm illustrating it with that, yeah. So, you know, like this. You look at any log in FF logs, like overall damage in a group is doing this. Your individual damage is doing this. Like, that's just how the game is. From this, you can see a party's DPS peaks at the end of a burst period and its lowest point immediately before the next burst. With this understanding, let's imagine the burst is worth 2 and a non-burst is worth 1. Burst is twice as strong. So let's also assume that crits are worth 50% more, so there's an expected crit rate of 25%. Therefore, you can expect an average increase of damage to be 12.5%. 50% increase happening 5% of the time. That means burst damage becomes worth 2.25 and non-burst becomes 1.125. Let's visualize that on the graph in green. Yeah, this makes sense. Basic math. Big Shaq taught me this. 2 plus 2 is 4, minus 1, that's 3. Quick maths. When balancing fights against expected DPS output, you should now be able to pick any point along that line and have that as the required DPS to beat Enrage at that given moment. Let's pick an arbitrary point for Enrage and acquire DPS and mark it in red. Okay. Seems reasonable. If you mess up your rotation at any point in the fight, that's your fault. And if that means you fall below the red dot, you hit Enrage. But this is an ideal scenario where all of your crits fall evenly across all of your damage. What does it look like if you crit all your bursts? Let's visualize. If you look closely, due to the fact that crits on bursts are worth twice as much as non-bursts, by being lucky with where you crit, this puts you above the enrage point. And what if you only crit your non-burst? You fall below. So now we understand that even if you play exactly as expected, there is an element of RNG which determines whether you pass or fail. This isn't inherently a bad thing. Randomness is part of the majority of games, and sometimes you have to deal with bad luck. This is true. Just go and watch streams where people are passing. All you will ever hear is, man, I wish I was critting right now. The question is, what can you even do about bad luck? This brings into question Square Enix's choice to embrace a 2-minute burst cycle as a standard for job design. Among other things, more on that later. By default, everything aligns correctly. You press your own buttons every 2 minutes, and that will naturally align with everyone else doing the same thing. Isn't that the average door boss pull? Pretty much. That means that the best anyone can do is play exactly as expected, as shown in the above graph. Buffs when you're supposed to, don't when you're not. This has the illusion of being convenient for the average player. It's less complicated than the unsynced buff timers of 60, 90, 120, and 180. That means you don't have to do anything unusual, like holding your 2-minute buff at 8 minutes to line up at 9 minutes with the 3-minute buffs. But what if you didn't have to? What if the DPS checks were tuned to such that the expectation was that everyone just presses their buttons on cooldown whenever it is ready? At that point, a 90-second buff is functionally no different from a 2-minute buff. You press it when it's ready, and it will align with others whenever it naturally aligns. Sure, everyone being synced up on 2 minutes by default makes it seem like it's easier to coordinate with your team, but by everything being on 2 minutes, this coordination is now no longer a choice, but a necessity. It feels like the devs are now tuning DPS checks expecting perfect buff alignment because it is the default, as opposed to the pre-Endwalker era where the default was imperfect buff alignment. Imperfect, yes, but not wrong. The choice to hold buffs for better alignment was something additional you could do for extra damage and helped make up the difference with running suboptimal party comps, and that brings me to my next point. Weak jobs. Warrior, Paladin, Machinist. Stop! I'm already dead, man! Fuck! To name a few, when DPS checks are balanced around a set expected way of playing, weak jobs become worse and good jobs become better, and with everything as standardized to 2 minutes, there's nothing you can do to make up this difference. So how do the devs balance around this? Do they set the DPS check expecting a full meta comp of maximum damage? Do they use a mix of weak and strong? Regardless of what you choose, there'll be a group of 8 jobs that are simply objectively better than any other choice. This has always been the case, as there will always be a best and a worst, but an endwalk of the job and fight design has removed the ability to make up the difference. This is the point I've been making. This is the point I've been making. With job design and combat design being the way it is, the purpose of other roles' existence is no longer there. There is no uptime to be gained, particularly, not compared to old design. Melee uptime is free. Casters are mobile, ranged have nothing to do. We just exist. Any of that thought process is completely moot now. Zeph said what Saren said, but like in an academic paper. I mean, I would not frame it in such a way that Zeph has like copied what I've said. Zeph has, at least as far as we've gotten, put this in a very simple and understandable way, while expanding greatly on the points that like most streamers are already saying, right? Zeph has worded this in such a way that you get the full picture of the problem. Like, you know, I'll read the rest in a sec, but like, Zeph has put into words, like proper, expansive, extensive, well-explained words, and expanding with his own points, as someone who's playing like a job like Paladin, for example, and like, just put it all on paper. So huge props to Zeph. If you want to read this for yourself, I will link it. Since he's linked it publicly already, I assume. Wait, why is edit here? I don't have edit perms, do I? I hope not. No, you don't. Just post it. Okay, thank God. I was like, what the fuck? If you want to read it for yourself, share it with your friends. Thank you, Zeph, for writing all this. Like, this could legitimately be sent to Square Enix. Honestly. And be like, look, here's the problem. So thank you for writing all this up. Thank you for being a voice and somebody with a brain that like really understands the situation. Because, like, most of us are saying this, but in, like, much more simplified terms. And in my case, like, I'm shit at wording things properly, so, you know. Maybe I say things in such a way that are not understandable or sound wrong. But anyway. Anyway, weak jobs. Warrior Paladin Machinist name a few. When DPS checks are balanced around a set way of playing, weak jobs become worse and good jobs become better. With everything the rest standardized 2 minutes, there's nothing you can do to make up the difference. So how do the devs balance around this? So they set the DPS checks selecting a full meta comp. Okay, right, yeah, I read that. My bad. So, we can use Paladin as an example. Allow me to pick out some phrases. They excel at maintaining high sustained damage. The unique advantage of Paladin's high sustained damage. These things are good. This is job identity. This is very gameplay. This is what I said earlier. Like, people are saying that, yeah, Paladin makes no sense as a job now. Yes. But the alternative is completely removing the identity of the job. Is that a good thing? No, it's not. It's a good thing that Paladin is in, like, a unique position. The problem is the game can't account for it. And now they're talking about reworking the job to just be as boring as everything else. this was my argument. This is being situationally better than other jobs depending on circumstances. These are not things which need a full re-evaluation of actions. And heck, if these are the reasons why people enjoy playing this job specifically and not others, why would you take that away from them? This is why I enjoy machinist chat. I enjoy its rigid nature. Just like I enjoy a nice, rigid, hard, thick cock on a catgirl. I like rigid things, apparently. You know? It's the same concept! Just... Anyway. Why would you take that away? Exactly. Why would you take that away? Why would you do that to people? Why would you rework a job in such a way that completely destroys the enjoyment of the job? Do you remember Astro? Yes. One more quote. There are mechanics that grant increased damage to players. Forgive me for being blunt, but if that is causing an issue of job balance, how about don't? Don't point the finger at a job design because one particular mechanic in one particular fight that granted increased damage caused there to be a larger discrepancy between job DPS where you can very easily hack and just simplify, not put a double damage buff there and adjust the HP accordingly. True! Alexandrebs, thank you for the prime. I appreciate the sub. Thank you. Remember, all credit for this document goes to Zeph. I am sure he will talk about it again at some point, so please go and follow this man. I don't know if he's still in chat, but this is the man that wrote it. Let's also assess Paladin's place in the above graphs. Yo, what's up? In the above graphs, Paladin is not a burst job by nature, by SE's own explanation. They do sustained damage over time. Lower highs, but higher lows. Tune. As an example, let's assume Paladin's burst is worth 1.8, then non-burst is 1.2. Before we get an average burst of 0.25 on burst, 0.125 on non-burst, adding together the total of 0.375 extra damage from crits. If we apply the same formula as the new numbers, we get 0.225 from burst and 0.115 from non-burst. This also adds to 0.375. So what's the problem? This is where we break our simplified example and consider the actual game. The existence is fully synchronized buffs every 2 minutes makes everything... It's everything that everyone does during the burst window stronger. For other jobs, it's the total of 2.25 base damage plus crits is being amplified, but at the same time, Paladin is only amplifying for a total of 2.025. What Paladin is in this example is what every job used to be pre-Endwalker. Rather than strong bursts being every 2 minutes, this happened exclusively 0, 6, and 12 minutes into a fight. 12 could be moved to 9 of some buff holding. The non-burst period in between was actually a whole lot of mini bursts. That means that you could afford to make mistakes. You could afford to have bad crit luck because perfect synchronization was less loaded with potency. Giving jobs super high potency abilities mainly introduced in Shadowbringers 400 used to be a lot in Heaven's Word for perspective. Making it all happen in 2 minutes in Endwalk means those burst windows are all important. Whatever happens in between is relatively meaningless. Basically, in Endwalker, the devs have standardized so many jobs to 2 minutes that any jobs that have any remaining individuality don't fit into this cookie cutter get left behind. And what is their solution? It's not to reevaluate the design choices, it's to push even more damage into these burst windows, which compounds the issue of crit RNG being an ultimate deciding factor on whether you pass or fail a DPS check. Design philosophy can be summarized as make every job burst at 2 minutes, balance all jobs so they do the exact same damage. If a DPS check is 2 RNG, dependent, lower it or until it's not. Sorry, I'm rap godding. I'm rap godding. Because there's a lot, but I want to read it. There's a lot, but I want to read it. In Shadowbringers, they move towards making every raid boss a dummy fight, which is a stark contrast to design the prior two expansions in ARR. What this means that a boss fight is effectively the same as hitting a training dummy because it doesn't require any disengaging for melees. This takes away from situational advantage that range jobs and also Paladin had over their counterparts. In Endwalker, they also made it easier and expected for everyone to synchronize their raid buffs and buff damage. Raiding is now a game where everyone is able to press their buttons with near 100% efficiency with relative ease, and devs expect this when they tune DPS checks. Who this affects the most are your average raiders that don't play long hours. They don't try hard and make rotational mistakes sometimes. If you drift your 2-minute buff, that's it. You're desynced for the rest of the fight. And while that didn't used to be the end of the world because there were still 60, 90, 180 second buffs to play around, desyncing a 2-minute buff is now way more punishing because those 2-minute windows are everything. It is the majority of the damage a party is doing during a fight, and it has been compromised. So I saw someone mention earlier that like range tax and shit wasn't really mentioned. Like, it's kind of mentioned here. Like this skirts the issue, or rather like vaguely describes the issue that like melee uptime is too free now, but with like the game is also being balanced around this idea that melee uptime is hard to get because melees are doing so much damage right now. Generally, ranged are doing fuck all damage right now, but thanks to Dance's preposterous fucking raid buffs, it's still valuable. Thanks to Bard's preposterous raid buffs, it's still valuable. Thanks to Machinist existing, Dancer and Bard look better. Keg W. Designing around an archaic concept that no longer exists and hasn't arguably for like 3 years. Melee uptime used to require strats and smart thinking. There used to be mechanics that you'd want ranged around to perform. Otherwise, you'd lose a lot of uptime. 011. 08. 2 examples. Other fights too. Those are just 2 off the top of my head. Don't nitpick at me, okay? I know there's more. There was a reason for them to exist. Machinist is still viable. But to call it good is certainly an overstatement. Even I cannot defend that. I play Machinist because I enjoy the class and I like having fun in the game. But I will not claim that it's in a good place. Only that it's been given small lifelines that are just ultimately amounting to not all that much. But shitting on PF damage is fun. Yeah. We recognize it's worse, but we enjoy it. People just pointing out that Machinist's at the bottom, like, exclaiming that, like, it's a huge issue and that the job isn't playable, like, is just flat out wrong. It's not like it's all bad, but it should be better. It factually should be better. I don't play Machinist to grief my groups, my statics. I play it because it's what I'm best at. So you can at least be sure that if you take me into your group, I'll be performing at like near enough 100% of my potential on that class. Anyway. DPS checks now have to be tuned low enough to account for mistakes rather than being tuned for average play with room to do even better. You may disagree with me, but I think this is straight up bad design. In the past, if you made a mistake, someone else could make up for it. The fight designs themselves can still be fun, but the act of clearing them has become more frustrating. I have never personally seen so many people either quit the game or quit raiding after a raid tier as I have right now. The only other time you could say this happened was Gordius during Heavensward, and I don't think it's just due to purely tuned DPS check. DPS check being bad is a symptom of an underlying design issues around jobs and raids. True. So what is my proposed solution? Honestly, just go back. Revert bust the original unique timers. Leave the ones at 2 minutes that make sense for, but don't do it to everything. Reduce the size of hitboxes to give some room for melees to improve above what is expected, and squash the potencies of abilities. You know, it's sad when you have to say squash the potencies of abilities after a fucking stat squish. Like, we must go deeper! The ability doesn't have to be 1,000+ potency for people to get a dopamine rush from critting it. If your average button potency is 250, then critting a 400 or 500 potency button is still going to feel good, but it won't feel nearly as bad as if it doesn't crit. As it is right now, high potency abilities are the main culprit for 2-minute burst windows being so important. If you even out the potencies, every job becomes more oriented towards sustained damage over time, with burst being an addition to your damage rather than the majority of it. That also means that sustained damage over time specialists won't stick out like a sore thumb. They just burst less, but that's okay in this environment. Lastly, nerf crits. Remove crit damage scaling from crit stat and rework that into direct hit instead. Direct hit existing alongside crit is just another multiplicative layer of damage variance on top of current 2-minute bursts. Big numbers will still be big numbers for those like that. It's all just relative. Zeph, I'm glad we have people like you to put calmly into words what I'd rather just scream at the top of my lungs about. I'm the first to admit that while it might be funny, I'm not the best at articulating a problem. My heart's in the right place, but I just can't get it out. It has plenty of cock, fuck, shit, cunt, wank, and bollocks in it. Thank you for putting into eloquent words, while still remaining simple and easy to understand, the biggest problem with this game right now. Huge, huge appreciation. Zeph made this. Do they need an editor? You could legit make a YouTube video about this stuff, yeah. So yeah, this patch is a fucking disaster. This patch has only exacerbated the problem that we already knew existed. The Godman TV, thank you for the follow. Oh, God. I will link the document one last time as well. People that want to read. Not like you bring a full meme comp is still clear. Yeah, because the phases were short. So you didn't have time to fuck up your buff windows. and the fight was like... And the fight was like... more mechanically based than DPS based, apart from the last phase. He's been ranting for 1.5 hours. Dude, I could go for longer. But I think an hour and a half... I mean, I've been ranting for like just over an hour, really. I haven't gotten to P5. I haven't gotten to P6, man. I went for 8. I lost my voice. It's so bad, man. Like, all of this is just so bad. Like, I'm happy for Paladins getting a buff. But the fact that they're like stating that they're gonna rework the job just to fit it into their bullshit agenda is just so sad. Damage down. Thank you for 16 months, man. Appreciate it. Welcome back. Thank you. This is just a fucking mess. This is a problem they created. All you had to do was ban Paisley Park users and enable in-combat marker placement again. That's all you had to fucking do. Instead, 3 years ago, you decided to band-aid it, push aside any accountability, and go on. Like, I fucking hate this dev team's inability to understand not only their player base, but like the fact that like they're not fucking infallible. And we're okay with devs making mistakes, but you keep making them, and you don't admit to them. You just fucking call us bad at the game, or you ban people for circumventing problems, and in some cases, you add the very same thing they used to the game 2 fucking weeks later! Look! It's right there! A month ago, that got you banned! Incompetence! And unfortunately, all along, there's gonna be this big-ass cult on Twitter, Reddit, and the forum echo chambers praising the dev team. And attacking anyone who dares to criticize. It's disgusting.
Thanks for molding for us.
You're fucking welcome. Amoratan, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you. Marshano, thank you for the 500 bits. Thank you, friend. Origa Web, thank you for the follow. Yeah, meanwhile, PvP cheaters, haha, who cares? We don't monitor our game. We just ban streamers when they get fucking brigaded. Harassment? What's that? Witch hunting? Never heard of it. Big cooldown timers bad until we add them, by the way.
Tigris Stratos gifted a tier 1 sub to fight.
Soren Morningstar, thank you for the follow. Tigray, thank you for gifting a sub to fight. Sayori, thank you so much for continuing your gift sub. Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Jesus fucking Christ, chat, what are you doing? Oh my god. Zenyat, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. I appreciate it. Thank you. Scythe, thank you for the 20 gifted subs. What the fuck? Thank you. Chat, there's been like 100 gift subs today. What the fuck? Thank you so much. Just one of those days. Just... I really hate that every time a patch comes out that I'm fucking mad about something, chat. Because like this game is my life. I've talked before about how streaming has done so many great things for me. It's now my job. I have a job that people wish they could have. And trust me, I wake up every day repeating that to myself. Alright, I love this game, but that's why I get so fucking mad about it. Because it's so fucking stupid and I want it to be better. It deserves to be better. But for the entirety of Endwalker, they are repeatedly misstepping. Completely misunderstanding the problem that they are continuously creating. The hole they are digging. And then shifting the blame onto other people. I.e. the players. You're not good enough. You're circumventing issues we created. Balance is bad because you can't play right. So fucking stupid. Right, but the 10% you're not accounting for knows the balance situation. So that argument doesn't make sense. And like the fucking lies as well. Like we didn't attune the boss for tome gear and extreme weapons. Yeah, you fucking did. P7S was not clearable min-eye level. There's no fucking way. Hey, nah, player base bad. Do they realize how they how they sound? Like, I really hate being patronized by a dev team. It's so annoying. You do not know better than your players. Not all of them. I don't know what to say, man. I don't know. I'm just kind of beat out right now, dude. I'm just kind of just like drained, like not from the screaming. It's just I'm so drained from just the repeated ignorance, the blame shifting. I just like the inability to listen to the player base. You know, I get it's difficult because, like, you know, when they look at feedback, there's a lot of trolling and stupid shit to sift through. But it's still quite clear to me that they really don't, like, give much of a fuck. Even when presented with, like, undeniable evidence. Probably, and this might be a bit tinfoil hat, but probably on the basis that we're using ACT to figure it out. And FF logs. So they immediately go, nah, bruv. Third party. Opinion invalid. Like, it's all just a facade. If you don't use those, you wouldn't know. This is quite tinfoil hat, I know. This might be stretching a bit. Meanwhile, market board bots, PvP cheats, all sorts of dumbassery. Correct! Don't look! But a fucking parser is bad? Okay, man. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, Harriet. Like, yeah, it's just gonna get worse. Until game design changes, which it's probably not going to. Rampant RMT, yeah, it's another one. I just... The priorities of this dev team are beyond confusing. Like, it's unfathomable. Completely unfathomable. Anyway, I should probably play the game rather than continuing to rant. I've already ranted for nigh on an hour and a half. Go back in the VOD if you want to see the full thing. I'm sorry if you missed it.